are listening to the Jeff Rubin Show. I am Jeff Rubin, here this week with Justin Ouilette, creator of Mux Tape.
Hello.
And Justin and I, we are friends. Is that fair to say? We're friends.
Yeah.
I am nerdy enough, this is going to surprise people, that people often come to me with computer questions. They'll be like, I need to buy a new computer. What kind of laptop should I get? Or here's a thing I want to do. What's the software I need to get to do that? They won't phrase it that way, but that's the question. When I have those questions, I go to Justin. Justin is my me. These headphones I'm wearing now you have a website, shittoget.com, which is a product recommendation site with just 16 product recommendations, and that's it. And I needed to get monitor headphones for recording this show. And I literally just went to your website, saw the headphones, clicked on them. I saw they were $65, which was about how much I want to spend, and I just ordered them without reading a single thing about them.
I should get a kickback from Sony for those. I was going to compliment you, actually. I was like, wow, great headphones.
Now, that was your recommendation. Do you have an Amazon referral code? You must have that on the site, no?
Yeah, and actually, those headphones are the most popular thing. I think it's because they're so cheap, but they're amazing for the price.
And headphones are hard to buy, too. It's really hard to figure out what kind of headphones to get. It's completely overwhelming. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we are talking about a site you created, Mux Tape. Let's start at the beginning. What is Mux Tape? Describe it for those who have never seen it.
All right. Mux Tape was a website that I launched in April of 2008, and it was a side project. I was working at Vimeo at the time.
Which is how we know each other, because Vimeo and College Humor shared
sister
the space.
Sites.
Yeah.
And shared the same office. And I was working on this music website and kind of launched it without much fanfare. Just kind of posted it on my blog, and it turned into a viral sensation. And overnight there were thousands of users and lots of attention from all kinds of different...
Well, before we get there, what was the site? What did the site do?
Okay, so the site was super simple. It was like having mixtapes online. You could go on and make a page that was a mixtape. Very simple. You upload 12 MP3s, it creates a track list, and it's playable, and then you can share the link and send somebody what I kind of considered the equivalent of a mixtape, but in internet form.
So I'd upload my songs, I'd send you the link, and then on that webpage, you just open the webpage, and it would do nothing. It would do nothing but play those 12 songs that I had put together as a mix.
Yeah.
So where did that idea come from?
So, it came from a lot of different places. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time with music online. And I think technology just kind of reached a point where it was possible. I'd always wanted this site. I used to do a radio show in college, and I had a website that went with it, and I would post the playlists. And so my friends would see the playlist on the site and say, hey, I'd love to listen to your show. I'm a little out of the FM broadcast range, but, can you send me those songs? So I ended up taping the show and sending tapes out to people. But I was like, this would be so much cooler if you could just listen to the songs right there. They're right there. But at the time, it was still modem times. It's
This is when?
2001, 2002. So you couldn't, modems 56.6K. That's half the bit rate of an MP3.
I feel most people were on broadband in 2001 and 2002. No?
Maybe not.
I was in college, so it was there. But before I left for college, I graduated high school in 2000, and before I left, we still had a modem back at home. But by the time I got back in 2004, we were on broadband.
Maybe you're right.
Today, in 2011, I basically demand the ability to listen to any song ever recorded immediately. If I can name a song, I want the ability to be listening to in 30 seconds. It wasn't quite there yet.
No, it was after Napster, but before all this other stuff. So it was kind of a weird time in limbo for the internet when there wasn't a whole lot of music options online.
The day you put it up, you left, as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, the day you put it up, and then that day you were done from Vimeo.
I had decided to leave beforehand, and I was going to try a couple different things, and this was just one of them. So I thought I'd just put it out there. It seemed the coolest. I figured at best maybe a few dozen of my blog followers might sign up, and it would be a fun way to exchange music. And I was not prepared at all for how far it went, and server crashed the next day, and it was...
How far did it go? What happened on that first day?
It's hard for me to even remember. I was kind of walking on air the whole day, for 2 days. I didn't sleep the first night. I was so excited about it. But I also knew that it was going to be more complicated for a lot of different reasons to have it be that popular that fast.
Technology-wise or legal-wise, or both and more?
Just everything. It's I kind of had this moment oh, my life has changed. I didn't know how. I mean, that was the thing, is I was really excited to see what would happen. I mean, both in terms of the site and in terms of, all the challenges associated with it.
So how many people were using it within a day or within a week?
Within a week, wow, it's hard to say.
It really, as I remember, it really blew up. Like I remember it being in Wired almost immediately within a month on their like hot, warm, cold list or whatever that feature they do is.
Wired, tired, and expired.
Right. And you were Wired.
It was Wired, yeah. And that was, that was crazy. It definitely, and it was like New York Magazine had a thing with like RZA doing a playlist and like the guy from The Strokes and like a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it was really fast. I mean, within a month there were 100,000 users, which was big in 2008.
And that was your full-time job working on it.
Yeah. So from there, I devoted all my time to it.
Now, you are, I think, one of the smartest people I know, but I also remember when it launched, there was that napkin issue.
The napkin issue.
The napkin issue kind of happened.
Okay, so I'm glad to have an opportunity to clear this up because this has been following me around forever. I had an angel investor who was one of the co-founders of College Humor and Vimeo and the related sites, and we worked out the legal structure for a couple different things on a napkin. And at the end of this meeting, I took a picture of it. Like, instead of saving the napkin, I was like, oh, let's just take a picture and I'll email it to you. But I wound up emailing it to Tumblr, like the email, like, post to Tumblr thing.
Because there's an email address, like everyone on Tumblr, which is a blogging service. I feel like I have to, I don't know who's listening. Tumblr is like a blog, and each blog, you get an email address, and if you send something that email address, it posts it just to make posting easier.
Yeah.
Perhaps too easy.
Too easy, because I used to, like, anytime I was emailing a photo, it was always to Tumblr to post it. And so, like, just as a reflex, like, my finger just went down to T, and I hit Tumblr and sent it. And, like, got on the train and went home and didn't think about it. Until hours later, I go back and look at my site, and, like, it's all over the place. It's on Gawker, all this stuff. And it's like, people thought I'd posted it, like, intentionally as, like, kind of an exercise in, like, openness and, like, making a statement about transparency and all this stuff. And it was a total accident and very embarrassing. But what I didn't expect was that people assumed that it was, like, the whole thing was about Mux Tape, and it wasn't. Like, I forget what the exact number is, but people thought that they had figured out how much of an investment Mux Tape had took. And
I looked at this last night before we spoke, and I believe the number was $95,000. Does that sound right?
Which was not just for Mux Tape. It's like, I also worked on another site called Normative, which was actually a label that Jacob started.
Jacob was the angel investor who we both know and adore.
Jacob, my good friend. So we were working on a lot of different things, and it's like, you couldn't really read the napkin. It's like, it just had the biggest number on it, just happened to be that number. And so it's crazy. And so now this is just like a fact. Like, it's in the Wikipedia page about Mux Tape. Like, it's just listed there with, like, Gawker as a source, which I think is funny because it's like, there's no way for me to change it. Like, I can't change it. And
you can edit Wikipedia now.
I've tried to fix it.
And people just change it back?
They just switch it back.
You got to go into that discussion area on Wikipedia. You got to, like, really roll up your sleeves and start arguing with them. Be like, look, I am Justin. So why did Mux Tape catch like it did?
It's like, to this day, like, I'm still kind of, like, digesting that, or, like, trying to process that and figure it out. I think it was a lot of things. I think the simplicity of it was a big part of it. It was extremely dead simple. Like, your grandma could use it. So simple.
Almost a clinical level of cleanliness to it. The only thing was, like, the numbers 1 through 13 and the names of the songs.
Yeah, like to a fault, which was, like, a conscious design decision. I was like, I want to make a site that is, like, literally just music and doesn't have space for anything else. Like, no BS, no images even, no nothing. Like,
this is still the MySpace era.
It's also hard to kind of put in context because the internet has changed so much even since 2008. But at the time, and even to this day, it's like, most music services are, especially today, like, they've gotten a lot more mature. Like, RDO is, like, it's beautiful, it's very polished, and it's like, it's but it's still highly designed, and it was really important to me to make it something that was like, you couldn't not get it.
I think that's what's interesting about you as a human being is that you're something of a polymath. Am I using that correctly? I don't know. Maybe I'm
I don't
giving
know about that.
But you are
I have a lot of interests, I guess.
you are a developer. You code, which is just gibberish to me. But you also do design. You're an artist. You do photography, and all these things kind of came together, I think, on Mux Tape.
Yeah, that's true. It was definitely like the first time where I was really comfortable making a design statement. Like, this is really the way I think like web software should work, or I wish other things were a lot more like this. Like, let me try to set an example for the way I think it should be.
When you initially put that up, did you have a grand plan, or you were just really sharing it with a few people?
No plan.
So
Literally.
then, day 2, 100,000 people are using it. Now what are you thinking?
Now I'm thinking, how long is it going to be before the lawyers call me? And can I keep the site alive long enough that I can like build enough scale and like interest in it that I can make a case for turning it into a real business instead of it just being something that's like, shut down in a week.
So how did you try to do that?
It might not have been the next day, but maybe the next day after that, I got my first call from a lawyer. And it was classic. It was the general counsel of Universal Music Group. And he calls me up. I'm at my desk at Vimeo. And he's like, is this Justin Ouilette? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is, whatever, the general counsel of Universal Music. I just have one question for you. Where do I send the summons?
Whoa!
I was like, that's a direct quote. And I was like, I didn't even know what to do. I just threw my hands in the air.
It's so cinematic.
It was crazy. His voice was so gravelly. It was terrifying, which was like exactly...
I bet that guy's not even a lawyer. They just hire someone with a gravelly voice to call up people and threaten them.
Yeah, it might have been. It was just like, if they were trying to like scare me, it was like just pitch perfect.
Did you lawyer up at that point?
Yeah, so, I mean, well, no, actually, I started looking for a lawyer, but I knew that I would at least have to, like, make some response or kind of, like, placate them a little bit. And so, I was like, you can send it to my house.
Here's my address,
Here's
sir.
my address. And
just very honestly answering his
yeah,
question.
I didn't know what else to do. I was like, well, you should send it to my house, I guess, if you wanted to summon me to something.
Did you get a lawyer?
Yeah, so I called up like every like kind of powerful person I knew. Or like,
by powerful, you mean like just connected in media?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, all right, media people. Who are the media people I should be talking to make this happen? So I eventually found this guy who was like the guy who had done all the licensing deals for every other website up to that point. And most of them, I think, have even gone out of business since then. I mean, which really gives you a picture for like how perilous this kind of thing was. Like, he'd done 10 of these deals, and none of those sites are worth remembering at all.
Do you know the names of any of them offhand?
I literally, I can't even remember.
Audio
them.
Galaxy, Scour Exchange.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, or whatever Scour turned into.
Yeah, LimeWire. LimeWire's still around though, I think.
Yeah,
but maybe they got sued. Grokster, was it Grok? These are all like, it's somewhat telling that I remember all the ones you could download free music from.
Well, no, they were all like overfunded startups who, like, without even launching a product, were trying to get their licensing deals into place and had already spent like millions of dollars getting their stuff set up.
Aren't lawyers expensive?
Lawyers are expensive. But if they think there's money to be made at the end of whatever the lawyering is about, a lot of times they'll work something out with you.
And they thought there was money to be made?
Yeah.
Was there?
Yeah, I think so. It's like, if the deal had been made and had been able to raise the money and like create a real business out of it, then they would have owned a small part of the business, but it was worth it for the free work. It was like, top-notch legal work for free, basically.
So now you're on the music label's radar. And I feel like even now, maybe because the online music market has evolved, that you hear less about the RIAA suing people. But from maybe 2000 to 2008, when this site came out, that was a major part of tech news and music news. They were just suing everybody. And that's maybe the tail end of that era. You don't hear that much about it anymore. Yeah,
that's true. And I don't know, it's probably just vanity talking, but I like to think that like this had something to do with it, because it was such like it was just so onerous, especially the way I went down, because I really feel like I played ball with them, to it. Like, I did everything they asked, and they still shut it down.
All right, so you're getting threats. That's why, but we haven't even. That's kind of the end of the story. We're talking about everything in past tense, but so yeah, things eventually did get shut down. But what happened before that? What were those legal battles like?
So before I actually had a lawyer in the room with me, I went to a few meetings with the labels. I think even in that first week, it's funny going back and looking at like my iCal from that month, because it's just like meetings with tons of labels, like every day of the week. And so I went to each of the four majors, which is Sony, Universal, Warner Brothers, and EMI. And it was just a totally dreamlike, utterly fascinating experience. It was like an out-of-body thing, like going into these meetings, because it was just me, no lawyer, and I'd be kind of like sandwiched between like 4 or 5 biz dev people on one side. That's business development for you. Sorry, a little jargon. And then like 4 or 5 lawyers on the other, and they would just kind of like tag team me, and I had no idea what to think about it. And it just was so unreal at that point that there was nothing I could do but just kind of like go through the motions and listen to what they had to say and kind of like figure out what I was going to do.
What were they saying? What were those meetings like?
So it was so interesting because the business development people are great because they're all about product, and they're like, oh, we love the site. Like we use it in the office. We think it's so amazing. Like it's been a long time since someone, or since there's been something that's got people like really excited about music online. And then literally they would say that, and then I'd kind of like turn the chair to the right side of the table, and the lawyers would be like, we are going to sue you into the ground tomorrow if you don't shut this site down immediately. And just pounding me, trying to get me to shut the site down. And it was all I could do to just kind of be like, yeah, well, I gotta talk to my lawyer, and
you didn't even have a lawyer at that point.
No, I didn't. But I got the sense that even for the amount of threats they were making, that it was worth them to at least wait a few days to kind of see how it played out.
What was the problem? It was that people could upload music on their own. So you were hosting copyrighted works?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. My opinion of it was that it was protected by the DMCA, and like the first day before I even launched.
Can you explain? I actually know what the DMCA is, but I'm a little unclear on exactly what protection under the DMCA involves.
So it stands for Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and I forget the exact year that it was enacted, but it's basically a system that protects. It's actually a good law. It protects both content creators and people who do websites like YouTube or like Mux Tape. It's the same principle employed by YouTube, where basically you say, we have a service where we let people upload whatever they want, be it videos or music, and we can't be expected to police everything on our own, but we will comply with any takedown notices, any requests for things to be removed from the site, like we'll act within like a certain time period that's agreed upon. And so it's kind of like a formalized process for complaining about copyright violations. But also it involves this thing called safe harbor, which allows a website to, have a little leeway with taking their stuff down in a timely fashion. And so I decided from day one, like if I get any complaints to take stuff down,
DMCA.
Yeah, I'll do it. So that was the thing. It's like these lawyers were making lots of threats, but like I hadn't actually received any takedown notices either. So, I thought I'd just wait until I got a takedown notice.
Lawyers are scary because they're like the mob, but they have some backing. Like they know these rules that you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
especially, yeah.
Like anyone can make threats, but they're like, oh, our threats are backed by the government and the police and who I don't even know how lawyers work.
Well, I think that's part of the thing about being a lawyer is that it kind of depends on only them understanding like the complicated code that it's a lot like programming. Actually, it's like if you know all the rules, it's like you can kind of work with it the way you want to. But
it's almost like a Jedi mind trick where they're saying this is illegal, and you have to be like, oh, this is illegal.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing about it is
we both compared it to the thing we know, by the way.
Yeah. Let me just put this in terms that I understand. No, I mean, that's the thing about the law. It's weird. It's like a lot of things are open to interpretation until they're challenged in a court of law. It's like that's why we have courts, is because you can't just say something's illegal and then punish someone. And it works both ways, It's like we have courts to kind of, and judges to like judge whether or not these things are illegal or not. And this is a really legally murky area. I mean, even to this day. And it involves free speech and fair use, which is a big copyright issue, and it's one of those like very nebulous things that it's like what constitutes free use. Does this count as fair use? And there are some copyright advocates who would claim that there's no such thing as fair use, but it is a legally enshrined doctrine, and it's one of those things. It's like I never saw my day in court, which I'm glad. Like I never wanted that to happen, but at the same time, I would say it's inconclusive whether or not it was actually illegal.
So what happened? You never got to court. How did it go down?
So I started working with the labels, and it was a really interesting process. Each one of those labels kind of has their own style, and they all have their own way of doing things and their own kind of attitudes and outlooks about the future of music online. And
Exactly how slowly do they want to go bankrupt?
Exactly. Well, it's interesting. It's like I think the legal department at some of them were like the most profitable parts of the company. Like I'm surprised they haven't merged more. I'm surprised there's 4 of them even still right now.
Yeah. Well, there used to be 5, didn't there?
Yes. I'm kind of hazy on the history, like pre-Mux Tape, because I didn't pay much attention to it.
Because what existed?
Yeah.
So what were the different styles? When you say they had different styles of going after you, different styles of trying to work with you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, both. That was the thing is the scariest ones were EMI because their head lawyer was this dude who, like, kind of like John Arbuckle from Garfield.
That doesn't sound very scary.
Well, like that's what you think. Like he would have this like tweed jacket and like kind of crazy loud shirt and like mismatching bow tie, but he was terrifying. And he was also like a member of the RIAA. Like he was one of the RIAA lawyers. Like in addition to being like the head lawyer at EMI, and he was just terrifying. And then at Universal, for instance, like I talked to the lawyer that one time on the phone, but I don't think I never met him after that. And then from then on, I kind of worked with their business development people who were really cool. And they had already kind of prepared for a situation like this. Like they had some written like requirements for what they needed for like a licensor of all their music. And that process was really interesting, actually. And it was clear from the outset that it was going to take months and months to do it. I mean, that's the speed that those companies work at. And there was a lot of moving parts. But it was a fascinating process to go through.
Did you ever get close to actually closing a deal with any of them and being able to have Warner Brothers music on Mux Tape without fear of, being sued into oblivion?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it was raising the money to pay for it too, which was a big challenge on its own. So the basic structure of these deals was, okay, this is the labels talking, we would have liked you to come to us ahead of time and worked out a deal for this music and then prepaid us for a year's worth of music at some rate per song plus some percentage of advertising revenue, like 50%, like a huge percent, and all this different stuff. But as it was, the site had been up like a couple months, and so they still wanted all this money kind of prepaid for a lot of the music. And they also wanted me to pay like an estimated amount of like damages, if you will, for the stuff that had come before it. And each of the labels kind of like...
Were those numbers reasonable at all? Because you always hear stories about the RIAA, and again, you don't hear this as much as you used to, but you used to hear stories about the RIAA suing, old women or whoever, but whoever they would sue, it was something like $250,000 a song, or just this astronomical amount that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that. It was a little more reasonable. I mean, the irony of it is, like, you would actually, like, I would be more nervous to be one of those, like, singular people who is, like...
Just busted on LimeWire.
On LimeWire or something. It's like, at least with this, it's like, I had, it was reasonable for me to say, hey, this is actually, it can be a money-making venture, and I have a model for it, and I can show you. It's not like I'm just like...
So you're saying, this may be illegal right now, but if you give me some space to work, we can both be making money on this.
Yeah, more or less. And it's like, I think they felt much better about it knowing that I was going to pay for everything. It's not like I got a free ride up until that point. So it was like, okay, we'll work out a deal, plus you can pay for the music you already used at like a similar rate. And they all kind of had the same, like I forget the exact terms, but it was about the same for all of them. We want this many cents per stream, plus, all this other stuff. And they kind of organized themselves according to how large they are, which is really funny too. All these labels talk to each other, and so each one of them is like, okay, we have 35% of the music catalog, and that's way more than other labels. So you need to give us, a proportionally more amount of money for our great music.
Of the music catalog of Mux Tape, which is essentially the music catalog of, the internet, just everyone's music.
Yeah, that's what's so funny about it, is a lot of them...
They know, so Warner Brothers knows what their share of all music is. I guess that makes sense.
They're very aware of it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like, they have like a pecking order that is like based on like how much of the like world of music they control.
I was gonna ask who's number one, but I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The four of them, I think, together control about 80% of the music, or at least that was true at the time of Mux
I
Tape.
suspect that number, if it hasn't dropped already, is certainly dropping.
Maybe. It's funny. It's amazing. The labels have really kind of held on.
Have they?
I mean,
I don't know who puts out the music that I purchase and that I enjoy, but I feel like I'm enjoying more independent music. Is that not true? Am I not doing that?
you might.
And I feel like the people I know are, but maybe that's just me and the people I know.
It might be just like the cool guy Brooklyn bubble you live
I'm
in.
super cool is the thing. I'm listening to the coolest bands. Weird Al Yankovic. Is he still on Scotty Brothers?
He's on Interscope now, I'm sure.
It did get shut down. How long was it up for in its original?
6 months.
So why, after 6 months, what was the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back?
I have no idea. And
What do you mean? Didn't you pull the site down?
well, no, I didn't. Amazon shut it down.
Oh, because Amazon, you were using their cloud store. Can you quickly
Right,
explain
yeah.
what that is? Because I think most people associate Amazon with, buying things.
So this is interesting too because Amazon has a hosting company. It's actually a separate company. It's Amazon Web Services. That's separate from Amazon that Amazon itself uses to host their website, but they have all this extra power that they will just rent out to anybody who wants to use it. So you can have a virtual web server and virtual file server that runs on Amazon servers.
And what's cool is you can rent it, you can rent it as you need it.
Yeah, and that was part of it. Is originally I had like a totally standard server that was just, like an actual computer somewhere, and it melted within 2 days. And so
Does the computer actually melt when that happens? Is there like actual physical damage to the computer?
it was just
Please tell me there is.
a pile of ectoplasm where the computer was.
It was just playing
had to
like
pay for
it
the
just
cleanup.
music was just puttering out of it.
Yeah, it just
So you have to use Amazon because it's scalable.
it's scalable, right? So,
And I think people don't realize how big Amazon is in that market. That's a huge Amazon is hugely influential in startups, and it's a critical piece of that business that they run.
an incredible amount of the internet runs on Amazon.
It went down, I don't know, probably 6 months, a year ago. It went down, and a lot of websites that you enjoy were down that day.
It was a huge deal, and it was
sad day.
Yeah, sad day. But it's a two-edged sword. It's like it's very powerful, but at the same time, you are totally at their whim. So if somebody complains to Amazon and they have the kind of clout that the RIAA is, they're not going to ask you any questions. It's like they gave me a courtesy call, but they didn't really even have to do that. I actually never even saw the like actual legal complaint that took it down.
So you don't even know who filed that.
I mean, I know it was the RIAA,
I see.
and immediately after it happened, like I spent all weekend. It was a Friday afternoon, and I spent all the weekend on the phone, like trying to get a hold of these people at the labels who had assured me verbally that the site would stay up and it was fine, and I had convinced them that taking it down was a bad idea. It's like, this is a hot website. It's growing very fast. It's like any break in the momentum, especially for something that people are expecting is going to get shut down any second. It's like the second it actually gets shut down, it's over because...
I told you so.
Yeah, exactly.
After 6 months, I know I keep asking you for numbers, but how big did this grow at its peak? How many people were using this? How many Mux Tapes were there?
There were... Oh, man. I don't remember. But there were well over 1 million people, using the site every month, which was pretty awesome.
That's a nice number.
Yeah, and really expensive. That's the other thing about Amazon is I had to pay to stream all that music, and it was really expensive. Thousands of dollars a month.
Did you make that money back? I remember you had Amazon referral links, which I assume don't cover.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That probably doesn't cover the cost, though.
No, not even a little.
So did you lose money on Mux Tape?
Well, yeah. Ultimately, yeah, I did.
It cost you.
Yeah, it cost me. And, it's like I don't have any regrets about it. But it certainly was very expensive and not making very much money. People, there was some revenue from the referrals, but not enough to cover the hosting.
So once it got shut down, so what was the plan to make it a profitable company where both you and, that mom and pop shop at Warner Brothers Recordings were both making money? What was the plan?
Well, I really wanted to avoid advertising. So it was just going to be like the site, very simple. I was going to have a very simple subscription pricing model for it because the price of the music was fixed more or less for the first 18 months or something.
I would subscribe to listen to music or to post music.
There were a couple different models. It was going to be definitely people to listen. You absolutely had to pay.
Oh, interesting. Wouldn't that have cut down on the viralness though? Because if I send you a mixtape and I'm like, hey, you got to check this out, and then you open up the site and it's like, pay me $5. I'm not that interested in your mixtape.
Yeah, definitely. So it's tricky. I mean, that's the thing is like separate from the legal issues. It's an interesting business problem because there's kind of an issue of like you have some users who will listen to thousands of songs a month, and other people who will only listen to like maybe 20 out of the whole month. So if they pay the same price, it's like some of them will be more expensive, but it's kind of offset by the people who don't listen to music that much. So it's like the price could have been very reasonable. Like I think it would have been very reasonable. It's like less than people are paying for Spotify now.
The thing about making people pay for things on the internet is it doesn't really matter how much. The hurdle you're trying to get over is just making them take out their credit card. Once the credit card's out, $1 to $5, probably not going to see much of a difference.
Nope.
It's just getting them to actually take out that card.
Yeah.
Why no advertising? You know advertising's like time-tested model for over a century now, way to make money. Why consciously say that we're not going to do that?
Well, I thought it was going to be a blight on the site. I think like part of the reason it was so popular was the fact that it was extremely clean, and I think it would have compromised that to have advertising on it.
Just a banner ad? It doesn't affect the content at all. It doesn't have to... I'm not even talking about the Hulk punching through and saying, come see the Avengers. I'm talking, like
a full site conversion with like a giant Dorito that comes down.
You
and
think
Kanye West
just a
jumps out of
banner
it.
ad at the top of the website would destroy the integrity?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of the same thing. It's like to go from zero to something is much bigger than like going from one banner ad to like having a few ads or something. It's like that first ad is what really does it. And the other part of it is the really personal nature of the site. It's like I really loved mixtapes in the 90s when I was in my like prime teenagehood.
Real cassette mixtapes.
Real cassette mixtapes. This is even before CD burners or anything. And they were so personal. It's like to give them to your friends, to receive one, people put a lot of time into them. I put a lot of time into them.
You had to space out to make sure that, you didn't want to... Because if you wanted to record a side of a tape and you wanted that side of the tape to be full, and you had to plan that very carefully.
Totally.
Because you didn't want a song to cut off right as that side of the tape ended.
Absolutely.
And you had to write out little liner notes in the cassette tape, and you had to... It was done... The speed was 1-to-1. If you wanted to record a song, you had to actually sit there and listen to it play back. You couldn't just drag it into a playlist and press burn at 32 speed.
Yeah, so it was a long and involved process.
I mean, that sounds... I talk about that somewhat nostalgically, but that sounds terrible. Doesn't it seem like...
No, it was great because you kind of listen to this. It made you kind of consider the songs. You're sitting there and you're kind of working on the tape, and you're like kind of putting yourself in the place of the person who's going to listen to it. Maybe it's a girl you like at school.
It's almost definitely a girl. I think 95% of mixtapes were given between someone who liked someone.
Yeah.
And that was very delicate too, because each song, well, what does this one say? You had to very carefully plan that.
So this is very close to my like very personal romantic heart, and it's like you wouldn't have a mixtape like that with a banner ad on it. Very personal. I wanted to retain that.
I think that's probably the movie that really will certainly go down as the definitive mixtape movie. It's hard to imagine anything else. You're nodding already. We agree. Smurfs the movie. It's
in 3D.
It is obviously high fidelity. Really romanticized that idea of the mixtape. That's kind of the core of the whole movie.
Yeah, definitely. It was a real thing. I mean, I feel.
When did that movie come out? Because that movie, there were CD burners pretty widespread at that point, but it was based on a book from the 90s, I believe.
I think it might have. I don't know. I think it might have been a little earlier, actually.
I'm definitely gonna get shit for like hosting a nerd show and not knowing everything about high fidelity.
Yeah.
You know what I remember about that movie was and I think you were too. I was such a huge Tenacious D fan. I had like VHS tapes of the Tenacious D HBO series that I ordered off eBay, and my friends and I watched them over and over, and we learned everything about him. And that was Jack Black, the first time he was in a movie where it was like you got to see him. It really used his Jack Blackness. That's what I really remember about that movie.
Yeah,
and the mixtape thing.
Totally. That was my dream as a teenager, was to like basically be John Cusack in that movie. Like I even had like the same Dickies shirt, just as a coincidence, but it made me know that like, oh yeah. Like my destiny is to open a record store and like make mixtapes the rest of my life.
Because in that movie, they're making cassette tapes, right?
Yeah, and the whole movie is like, there's different scenes with him like composing them in his head and like, like narrating all his decisions behind them and like this and that. And it was true. It's like when you make a mixtape like that, like in addition to like picking the songs, it's like you'd have like a style, like would you throw in like a joke track or
Right.
something that's like a bonus track from a something else that's like, you know, just to kind of fit in the space at the end, but still in the tone of the rest of the tape. It was a real art form. It's totally lost now.
Mux Tape gets shut down. Is that, and then that's game over? What happens after that?
It was more or less. It was just kind of it forced me to have a moment where I was like, do I really want to continue? It's like the path was already uphill, and that just made it like twice as much uphill. And the other part of it for me was I had spent 6 months going to a lot of meetings and talking to a lot of lawyers and working on business plans.
Which is your favorite thing to do? We hang out all the time. You always talk about how much what you really want to do is hang out with lawyers and make business plans.
It's like, guys, this is cool, but if there were some lawyers here, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. No, and I barely got to work on the site, which I hated. It's like, it was kind of like, it was almost frozen, and like, it's very, like, I made a few additions and improvements, but there's a lot of stuff I wanted to do that I just didn't get to do because I was too busy with the rest of the stuff, and I just made a decision to walk away from it.
It did come back briefly, and I checked last night. It's still not up. It's not up anymore, but in something of a crippled form. I hope you don't mind me describing it that way, but it was where
I decided to pivot.
The artists had to register, and the artists had to upload it themselves, and then you could make a tape out of whatever artists were already on Mux Tape.
Yeah, it was more of an artist. I mean, I noticed that artists had been using the old site. Like there were a lot of bands who just signed up and put their songs on there voluntarily, and small indie labels too. Mm-hmm. And
who had done that?
Oh, Asthmatic Kitty had done it. I'm trying to think who else. I think Ghostly International did. Ninja Tune had one.
And when you came back with that plan, there were bands on there that it wasn't all obscure bands. There were people on there I knew and loved. Girl Talk was on there. He's probably more popular now than he was then.
Yeah.
Francis and the Lights of Montreal, who's a great band. So it wasn't nothing, but it must have been hard to get people to sign up for that because you have to do it just one by one.
Yeah, and it was different. It's like I wanted to take on MySpace at the time too, and it's funny because MySpace now is just
I think you won.
Well, it's kind of a Pyrrhic victory, but you know, MySpace was the music site at the time. Like for bands to put their, like you just had to have your stuff. You could have a regular website, but you had to have your stuff on MySpace if you wanted people to find it. And I wanted to have like the antidote to that. And so it seemed like a logical way to do it. It's like, okay, here's something where I can still have the freedom of uploading whatever you want as long as you actually made the songs. And still have something that is, you know, mostly music, very clean, very easy to use, both for users who want to listen and artists who want to upload like.
But that version just didn't pan out.
Well, it's kind of a complicated story. It just didn't pan out.
We got time. I pay for a lot of hosting.
Well, I also there's some other things going on in my life, and like it was just such an emotionally exhausting thing to go through this whole process that I also just kind of wanted to stop thinking about doing a music website for a little while and kind of like explore some of the other things. I mean, initially, you know, I had wanted to try a few things and see which one worked out. I kind of hoped that I would like get to make 3 or 4 of those things, and I didn't. Like it was just Mux Tape, and then that happened. So I wanted to explore some of my other stuff.
Have you gotten to do any of those other projects?
No. I mean, a little bit. It's like I've gotten to do other cool stuff, and it's like I think that I will return to music at some point. But
you have worked on some cool stuff since Mux Tape shut down. What were some other projects you've done since then?
Well, after I worked on Mux Tape, I
mean, you worked on Vimeo, which is a really cool project before Mux Tape.
Vimeo, yeah, was awesome. And I wound up working at the New York Times R&D lab for a little while.
Which I thought when you told me about that sounded like the coolest job.
It was literally the coolest job.
Because it's just the New York Times, and they're like, come up with fun things to do with this incredible resource of news we have.
Totally. An incredible place to work. And that really fit with my style of just like, let's just try stuff and see how it works. And so that felt like a good fit for me. I was like, I want to do that for a while. And, you know, it has nothing to do with music, which was kind of like very attractive to me at that moment.
And then since then?
And so I worked on a big project there called News.me, which eventually was transferred to Bitly. And now I work at Tumblr.
What are you working on at Tumblr? Because you do a lot of things. You could theoretically be a developer. You could be a designer, or you could do both. I guess, or you could do product stuff. What are you working on there?
My job title is product, but I'm working on a really awesome, super secret project that I can't talk about.
Interesting.
But I'm very excited about it. It might be one of the coolest things I've ever worked on. I mean, I think it's cool so far, and there's still a lot of work to be done on it. But I'm pretty excited about that.
You can just tell us. It's just me and you here.
Just you and me and the internet.
Was there a highlight for you?
I should say also just about Tumblr, it was such a big part of the initial like popularity of Mux Tape. It's like there could not have been a Mux Tape if not for Tumblr. So
That's interesting. How so?
Because,
Why Tumblr specifically as opposed to just WordPress or any other blog service?
Well, Tumblr, and to this day it's true, is an incredible place for things to be very viral, and so because they have it's the reblogging mechanism. Reblogging, especially then, it was brand new, and it was such a big deal for people to be able to share things very quickly, like through a social network. And I didn't do any marketing and promotion for it. I had a lot of questions later from people talking about it who were like, how did you promote it? Like, how did you make it so big? And I was like, I just posted it on my blog. But it wasn't just a blog, it was Tumblr, you know? And so it kind of went around the Tumblr network, and a lot of the first users of Mux Tape were Tumblr users. So it's cool to kind of come full circle and to come back and be working on Tumblr, because it holds a special place in my heart, and also I think for Mux Tape.
Yeah, I mean, I host my blog, which sort of functions as this show's homepage on Tumblr, and it's cool because when I post something that is, sometimes we just, sometimes I keep saying we, sometimes there's no one else here. Sometimes I'll just post the show, and I'll be like, hey, there's a new episode up, and it's cool and people like it and it's great and I'm happy. But a few times I've been able to like pull not a screenshot because it's an audio show, but some nugget from the show. Like when we did the Legends of the Hidden Temple episode, I kind of illustrated, I keep doing that, the silver monkey problem that the kid explained. And it went extremely viral on Tumblr, and if I just tell people the new show is up, they're not that, like no one's going to tell their friends, hey, there's a new show up. But when you make it like a nugget of information and then the show is up, it got passed around very quickly, which was very exciting for me.
Yeah, Tumblr's amazing that way.
It's cool. I'm surprised more people. Twitter has the retweeting, which is kind of the equivalent of it, but it's less organized.
It's not the same, and it's like the visual nature of Tumblr makes it so much more. I don't know. It's like it's quicker to share an idea if it's an image than it is if it's text.
Did you have a favorite Mux Tape?
No, I liked so many. There were so many. Like there were so many good ones. I can't think of anything.
It got to the point,
specific.
It got so big at the end that there were people doing like meta Mux Tapes, like Mux Tapes that were making fun of other Mux Tapes.
Yeah. I guess there was actually one that was like particularly making fun of Mux Tape itself, and kind of like it's like
which it's doing within the medium of Mux Tape. What was that one? What did they do?
I can't remember the name of it, but it was all like making fun of the kind of music that people were posting on Mux Tape. At least earlier, it was like it was very New York centric, I think, at the beginning, which was also kind of Tumblr's kind of main geographic location at the time. And kind of the hipster kind of thing that went with it.
Usually, like, parody is when you've made it, and it's kind of the last stage of the cycle.
Yeah.
After they made Blazing Saddles, that was it for Westerns. It's the last thing you do as part of that cycle.
Totally. It felt like as if like Weird Al had done a version of like your song. Like I imagine it being like a similar thing. Like now you've arrived. Somebody has made fun of you.
It's interesting sitting here talking to you about Mux Tape because it seems, and this is only 2008. It was only 3 years ago. But it feels like we're talking about another era, doesn't it?
It was another era.
Because now there's sites like RDO, I didn't even know that's how you said it, or Groove Shark, or Turntable.fm, that have somewhat gotten around the uploading, and I don't know exactly how this works, but by seemingly licensing all the music at once. Have you used Turntable.fm? I have to assume you have.
Yeah, and it's really cool. Like, there's a few.
Can you describe it quickly for people that haven't seen it?
Yeah, sure. It's a site where you have one person who's kind of the DJ, and other people are in a room. It's like a chat room, and the DJ in the room plays songs, and other people can, hear the song and talk about it, and then they can take turns being the DJ.
So, everyone in the chat room is listening to the same music at the same time, so you can talk about what you're listening to, and
yeah, and it's very cool because it's one of those things that couldn't be done anywhere else but the internet. It's like an internet unique experience that adds value to the music that.
And you don't upload your MP3s on Turntable.fm. Is that the lame way to say it? I feel like I'm like that can't possibly be correct.
Yeah,
pronouncing the whole address. But you don't upload your own music. There's a large list for you to pick from, and I saw that as I thought, okay, I'm going to challenge this thing. I'm going to throw at something, but I have not been able to stump it yet. And I don't have the most obscure taste in music, but it's certainly not, I don't think it's mainstream.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Did they just get a blanket license? It's Spotify and Groove Shark and all these sites that let you listen, like we were saying earlier, to any song instantly. What are they doing that Mux Tape wasn't able to do?
I have no idea. I know that they've licensed it. It's all above the table, and they've paid for it. I'm not sure what they paid, but I'm sure it's less than what Mux Tape would have had to pay for its service. And part of that is because, and there's been other sites. Another kind of sister site to Mux Tape was 8 Tracks, which is still a great site, and it involved a similar thing about making mixes, but they were very careful to conform the way the site operated to terrestrial broadcast rules. And so they basically took the legal position that their website was a type of radio station. And so that's the way radio stations operate. It's like the labels have been trying to get royalties from radio stations for years. I mean, like for decades, they've hated that radio can play all this music for more or less for free. And
isn't it promotion? How else would anyone know to buy their records?
that's the thing about it, is it's so funny because, and it's true of Mux Tape too, is like, you can't get people excited about music like until they hear it. They have to hear it at least once. And a lot of the times it isn't just browsing through something and hearing a 30-second preview. It's like you need to hear it in a more serendipitous way, or it needs to be recommended to you personally by a friend. And so the radio stations do pay a smaller fee. And that's kind of what 8Tracks is doing. And the reason they can do that is because they can say, we'll only play this song, with a certain frequency. Like we won't play it more than once per hour, and we won't do this or that. And so there are ways to get around it and pay less money. And there are also, it's like in these last few years, there's been a lot of different kind of maneuverings business-wise in terms of licensing music and finding different ways to package and license it. And I really don't know. I mean, there's a lot of weird deals out there to be made.
It seems like Mux Tape was maybe a year or two too early almost. It was ahead of its time would be the way to say it. Because now it seems like the labels are a little more willing to work with people and those deal structures. And this is not really a technology challenge as much as it is the labels recognizing the business challenges of it. They seem to understand it a little more and be a little more willing to work with it now.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, again, vainly, I like to think that maybe Mux Tape taught people to like be a little smarter about it. At least I hope it did.
You listen to a lot of music. You're obviously a big music fan. How do you discover new music? I don't think you listen to the radio. Certainly not the AM/FM terrestrial radio.
Sure. Yeah. No, I listen. If there's a way to get music, like I'm into it. Like I listen to the radio. I go to a lot.
You listen to the radio?
Oh yeah.
What station do you listen to? I know we're in New York and no one else is gonna care, but
oh man, in New York, Kiss FM, especially on the weekends.
What?
Oh, they have live DJs like on turntables who are incredible, and they'll play some like.
What is Kiss FM?
It's 97 something.
I thought they were like a major radio station, and I had just assumed all the major radio stations were garbage. Is that not true?
There's a few good ones. I mean, New York is a big enough radio market that there is some legitimately cool stuff. And,
who else is out there?
I mean, that's my favorite in New York.
WFMU is great, but WFMU, which is in New Jersey, I listen to their stuff online. And they're more, yeah. I listen to their comedy stuff more than their music, but they do a lot of interesting music stuff too.
Yeah, the radio's, so, I mean, it's mostly a wasteland, but it's also, there's still some good stuff, especially at night and on the weekend when it's like, they'll have, DJs who are in there kind of curating their own stuff rather than just playing, whatever their usual playlist is. But Rdio, like I mentioned, is great. Like,
how does Rdio work? I actually don't. I know Rdio, Groove Shark, and Spotify are for people that don't have 80 gigs of music on their computer.
Yeah, they're all
or more. How much music do you have on your computer?
Oh man, 4 terabytes.
What? That's insane. I had 80 gigabytes, and I was like, that's a lot of music. 80 gigabytes. I've been working on this for years. What is you're the math person? 4 terabytes is how much more than 80 gigabytes?
Oh, it's approximately 10 million more.
Several
possible? Orders of magnitude.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is stuff I probably will never listen to and have never listened to.
Yeah, probably not. It's like 10,000 years worth of music.
Yeah. But, just
in case you get the Jones.
Oh, sure. It's like I might want to listen to like one specific like Led Zeppelin song sometime that,
Doesn't Spotify and Groove Shark and Rdio, and I'm not totally sure how all of them work and what their individual characteristics are, doesn't it solve that problem for you where if you want to listen to that random song, you can do it?
It does. I mean, this is a collection that been building up for more than 10 years. And so
Yeah, mine's similar.
it wasn't really like a thing where I was thinking, in 10 years there's going to be this $10 a month service, and actually like different competing $10 a month services where you can just listen to literally anything. And it's amazing. It's true. Like Spotify, I haven't used Turntable that much, but Spotify, I'm really impressed. It's hard to stump.
$10 a month. It's a pretty fair price to listen to all of recorded music.
It is ridiculous.
Do they have everything on there? Beatles. Are the Beatles on there?
I don't know.
That's important. You gotta have the Beatles on there, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the Beatles.
Is there anything where you ever want to listen to it? Really obscure indie stuff, and it's just not there?
Well, indie stuff is funny because people who are doing indie music now especially are a lot better about getting their music into these internet channels. Again, I'm so impressed at how obscure some of the stuff they seem to have is. It seems to be older stuff that's kind of hard to find. Like if you're into like African funk, like from the 70s, it's like they're not going to have some stuff that's like was pressed on 45s just once and like maybe you heard about it like on a college radio show or the guy had the original disc and like there's no way to find that kind of stuff. But
That's why we still have hard drives.
yeah, and turntables.
Is there anything you use to listen to not to listen to new music, but to discover new music on the internet?
Music blogs. There's lots of DJs. There's a few DJs I really like. I've been listening to the Hood Internet. Those guys are good. They do a lot of mashups, but it's a good way to introduce you to stuff you might not have heard.
Anything else about Muxtape? Did we get it all?
No, I mean, you asked some great questions.
Muxtape's an interesting, it holds an interesting place in the history of internet music. It seems like it's one of the last sites of that era when sites were unfortunately getting taken down left and right.
I think we will look back on this time of the internet, like the first 10 or 20 years, as being this incredible Wild West where anything was possible.
The first 10 or 20 years, you mean right now?
I mean, the era we're in right now is like the industrial age of, I mean, it's the, whatever you want to call it. It's like, it's that important and it's so early. It seems so advanced right now, and it seems like it's been around for a long time now, but it really hasn't. And like, I think over time it's gonna change and it's gonna come under a little bit tighter control, And there's a lot of there's kind of political and business factors.
But I think you're right.
Yeah, and I think it's inevitable, and it's kind of sad, but it's all the more reason to,
record yourself talking about video games right now.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I cut you off with my second point. What were you gonna say? It's all the more reason to.
I mean, I don't know. All the more reason to appreciate the golden era that we're in right now.
Yeah, it really it is. How long do you think this podcast, which we're recording, and right now we're talking, but it'll be on the internet soon? How long do you think it'll be on the internet?
I mean, maybe forever.
Cool. That's very important to me that everyone hear the conversation we are about to have about Mass Effect. So if you came here to listen about Mux Tape, thanks for coming. Justin's a great guest. Twitter, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. So Justin, you are a ridiculous Mass Effect fan.
I love Mass Effect.
This is insane because I only recently discovered Mass Effect. Mass Effect is one of the most popular new video game franchises. It's a role-playing game from BioWare, who is a Western RPG developer. That's an important distinction. Western role-playing games are very different from Eastern role-playing games. In the Eastern side, you have like stuff like Final Fantasy. Western side, I think a little more open, a little less. They're a little less linear, I think that's what I enjoy about them.
Yeah.
And BioWare made Baldur's Gate. They made Knights of the Old Republic. So they're one of the best RPG developers of all time. But I had kind of taken a 10-year sabbatical from role-playing games just because they're so time-consuming, and they were primarily dominated by this Japanese style, like Final Fantasy, that I don't really enjoy. But Mass Effect, so many people talk about it being so good that I finally sat down to play it, and I skipped to Mass Effect 2 because Mass Effect 1, everyone says is good. The gameplay isn't as good, but the story is and the way it works is incredible. So only recently, Mass Effect is huge. This is all me apologizing for only recently getting on the Mass Effect train. I played the game 2 or 3 months ago, and I said, Justin, I just played Mass Effect. It's incredible. Have you seen this? And your response was, I asked, have you played the game? And you said...
I don't remember. What did I say?
You said you've beaten the game 3 full times.
4 times.
4 times, excuse me. And each time in a different style. What were the 4 playthroughs?
Well, you have to do both a good playthrough and an evil playthrough. I forget what they're called. I forget what it's called.
Paragon and Renegade are the two.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you can make and this is something that comes up in a lot of video games, though I don't think anyone handles it as well as Mass Effect. Every decision, not every decision.
Every decision you make is...
But you get a lot of choices at times where you can do something noble, or you can do something, you can be a shithead.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think Mass Effect makes that really interesting. Like, I think, for instance, I think BioShock and Infamous 2, which I'm looking at right now on my coffee table, are two games that do a terrible job. And I like Infamous 2, and I love BioShock, but they do a terrible job with their moral choice system, where it's always... Do you want to do the inconvenient but nice to the story thing, or do you want to be a complete monster and just have a little fun? Whereas BioWare in Mass Effect, they make it a little more subtle. The moral choice isn't always right and wrong, which in BioShock and Infamous, it pretty much is always, do you want to do the morally right thing? But it's a little more nebulous. And yet, you did one playthrough where you're the best person possible, one where you're the most evil person possible.
Well, okay, so the first time I played it through, I made a conscious decision to do exactly what I would do.
That's how I played it too, and I think that's the fun way to do it.
So it is fun, and what's cool about that game is that moral choices have always, I think, been a part of role-playing games, but the difference is in Mass Effect that, like, it really matters, and towards the end of the game, like, things will be wildly different for you if you play it a certain way versus another.
And so, for instance, one of the moral choices, just to demonstrate one, is one of the subplots that runs through the games is there's something called the genophage, and there was this dinosaur alien species called the Krogan, and they got a little out of control. They got a little wild, very aggressive species, and this is all filled in through insanely detailed backstory that's so well written. It's fun. I never read the backstory for games, but
that's another thing about that game. Me too.
I never care. I'm skipping cutscenes left and right. That game, I'm in the codex, reading the codex, every single detail.
Absolutely.
So this dinosaur species got a little out of control, and this other species of kind of soft-spoken, sort of Jewish alien sea species, right? They're kind of Jewish.
I can't speak to that.
So they develop a virus that biologically castrates them so they can't reproduce, and it works and it stops their war, but it's the species is dying off, and you have opportunity. Is that the right thing to do? Is that fair to do that to them?
You have an opportunity to cure it.
Yeah,
and it's just like
it's so heavy. What's wrong
It's so
there?
heavy. It's like, what do you do?
And here's what I learned about myself playing that game: is there would be moments where you'd have to choose between two of your crewmates, and the whole game it's this very Dirty Dozen thing where you're building the team and you're making friends on the crewmate. And there's one part where two crewmates, both of whom I liked. I can't decide if we should say, hey, I can talk about this. It's a vague spoiler, and if you haven't played the game yet, you probably aren't. It's Legion and Tali. And Legion and Tali are arguing, and you have to take a side, and the person who you don't side with is going to hate you. And I didn't know what to do. And I just stared at the game, and I thought I would be the worst space captain in the world. I can't make a decision at all.
You got to be decisive.
That's what I learned about myself. I could not be Jack Shepard. I'm awful at that. There were so many times in the game where I just had to stop and think about it and be like, everyone give me a minute. And even still, I wasn't totally confident with my response.
Yeah.
So you played good and evil.
Yeah.
Or no, so you played as Justin.
So I played as Justin, and I didn't finish the game. That was the thing, is like, it wasn't as interesting to me. So then I went through and I was like, let me play the role, as the name of the genre would suggest. And it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book. It's like you go through it once and then you're like, you got to know what the other options were, right? Like to have the opportunity to go back and do it again. Of course you would.
It's weird. A lot of role-playing games, I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy. You don't really play a role. You're pretty much trapped in that game's story, and you're moving from point A to point B the same way every time.
Yeah, and you can explore, which is a big difference about it too, and do things non-linearly. It's like, it really is. You really feel like you have a sense of control over your destiny in the game, which is interesting.
It's weird that we're just talking, and this isn't on the internet yet, and yet I can already feel the hate because I said something bad about Final Fantasy. Like, I can just feel it in the room.
Yo, all the Final Fantasies after 7 were worthless.
I don't even like 7 that much. Let's not talk about it. It's gonna be too much. So what was and then the fourth playthrough?
Okay, so that's 5 total playthroughs. I guess 4.5 over the course of 2 games. So then the second one I had to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I knew going into it that I would have to go through one way and one the other.
And then finally, you got to play as FemShep.
Yeah. So I would do 1 male and then 1 female for each one.
Oh, you do each one as both. So FemShep, of course, the main character is Captain Shepard. FemShep is what you call it on the internet when you play through as a female version of Shepard.
FemShep and BroShep.
Is that you call it a BroShep? I thought it was just Shep, like, you know, one of those things where I'm trying to think of another word where you don't have to specify it.
Yeah, Shep is like a gender neutral pronoun.
Right.
But Yeah, it was one bro shep, one fem shep. First bro was Paragon, then I switched it the next time, so I was Paragon with fem shep for the second game. Very satisfying.
All these playthroughs, I played it through once and I loved it. And again, I don't really play role-playing games that much. And I thought it was the perfect length. It wasn't too long, but I definitely wasn't like, ooh, I should play it through as a lady. Though I regretted I chose a male character, and I regret it because the game's so well written that I'm sure the female side of it, which I haven't played, I'm sure the female side of it is probably one of the most well-written female characters certainly in video games, if not in movies too.
So that was kind of my one criticism of it, is I felt like they could have made her part of it different, like more different. I think they kind of chose a middle path between something that could kind of go either male or female.
How excited are you about Mass Effect 3? Which is coming out in March.
Because
not for Christmas. You're going to have to wait till March.
I feel like they took the decision consequence thing like to a whole nother level in the second one. Like they were like, let's have there be like literally hundreds of things. And I think for the third one, like you import your save game and it takes into account like everything you've done through the past two games and like mostly stuff from Mass Effect 2.
That's what makes it so stressful when you're trying to make a decision, because it doesn't just affect the current situation of the current game. You're looking down the road at Mass Effect 3 and it really reverberates.
Definitely. Which is why it's not a bad idea to play through it twice.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Which save file are you going to use when you load up Mass Effect 3?
Well, I'm going to play Mass Effect 3 twice, of course.
Each time is good and is evil. And also, you lose people. There's a way for teammates of yours to die, and everyone's so well written. And I decided from the beginning that I was just going to play through the game, do what I want to do, and whatever happens, happens. And I faced some tough losses in that final mission.
That's the thing is, I don't want to give away no spoilers, but I tried to save as many people as possible in the first playthrough. Second one, total bloodbath.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very lonely Mass Effect 3.
I made some difficult decisions. I didn't play Mass Effect 1, so I'm not the biggest fan. I did feel a little bit like Mass Effect 2. Some of the choices didn't end up being that interesting, and the consequences didn't... There weren't that many consequences just for a lot of the decisions I made. But I read up on it online afterwards, and somewhere in an interview, one of the developers explained that because of the format of the trilogy, Mass Effect 2 sort of has to end at a certain place no matter what you do, so that Mass Effect 3 has one start and not 50 of them. And then Mass Effect 3 is really where you're going to see your...
Oh, because it can end anywhere.
Yeah, because it's the final game in the trilogy.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll spin it off and do another story in that universe or something, but...
Yeah, if they're disciplined about it.
What do you think? They got to do more Mass... It's such a brand name now. Maybe they do
I could see them pulling a Lost and just being like, yo, this is it.
BioWare's pretty good. They're pretty reliable. But maybe it's like a jet fighting game in the Mass Effect universe, or a Mass Effect RTS.
Mass Effect Ghost.
I could see that coming out.
Yeah.
Any other video games we got to talk about? Anything you play now?
I play StarCraft almost daily. I love StarCraft.
I'm the same way with Team Fortress these days.
StarCraft is great.
All right, well, let's get back to our video games. Thanks so much for doing this, Justin. This was so fun.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
If you are Justin Ouilette, thanks again so much for being on the show. If you're anyone else, thanks for listening. Hey, remember when we were talking about Tumblr? If only you could use it to stay up on new episodes of the Jeff Rubin Show. You can at my Tumblr, jeffrubin.com. You can do the same thing if you have some sort of anti-Tumblr bias at my Twitter, that's at Jeff Rubin Show, or on my Facebook fan page. We'll talk more next week.